Hello and welcome back to another special awards episode of the Texas Private School Podcast. As always, I am 1/3 of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson, joining you from College Station. And for the first time in about a month, I think we all join you from our respective, college homes. Walker Lott also joins me from College Station, as well as Ryan Schroeder in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Walker, it's been a couple weeks since we've all gotten together on an episode. How's it been following all these guys, announcing their commitments and basically trying to trim down this absolute beast of a list we've created for the award show?
Yeah, I mean, the talent was on display this year. So many great seasons for a lot of kids, and it was hard to shrink those down. I mean, me, Wes, and Ryan had a lot of conversations just trying to figure it out. Hey, where do we want? Where do we want this, or where do we want that? And we had to look at the numbers, awards, recognitions, and just watch film. And we talked about it before of like, oh yeah, this is a long process to get the semifinalists. I mean, it might have been just as long to get the finalists down to four, and you'll see that here today. And but yeah, it's been really exciting to see all these guys commit to their colleges, do the dream of playing collegiate football. It's always a good time seeing all of that.
No, without a doubt. It's been a very exciting few months, or yeah, several months, even though it is the off season. But Ryan, you're back in Stillwater, Oklahoma. You're doing stuff for school as well as shooting for the Oklahoma State Athletic Department. How's the last few weeks been in your department? And you have any comments on this list that we're trying to gradually trim down?
Yeah, no, I've been back in full swing of things. I'm working for OSU Athletics, doing men's basketball, women's basketball. Just went with track and field this past weekend. So I got a lot on my plate. Plus, I'm also a student. So all that going on. But yeah, no, it's been great. Honestly, I've been looking forward to doing this. I've been lacking a little bit on some of the basketball stuff, but I'm really excited to see what we put up for the award show. Honestly, I think we have a lot that we have gone through here, and I've been on the side of the Instagram thing. So if you want to blame anybody for not putting your Instagram graphic out, you can blame me. It's a hard task, and it's hard to, sometimes find all of y'all's Instagrams, but no, I have fun with it, and I'm excited to get into the finalists today.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I'm a broken record and we all are, but this is a gigantic project we undertake. However, it's something that we all three really, really enjoy doing. And it's one of the favorite things that we get to do just because it allows us to get recognition that I don't think a lot of other unbiased sources have the chance to provide. And it's very, very fun. It's very exciting. We all love doing it despite the sheer amount of volume that we have to cut through to get to this list. But like Ryan mentioned, we are now down to the finalists. We are getting into the crunch time, and I'm so excited to be able to share the four remaining names on each of these categories. But really quick, I know it's kind of the same iteration of a question I asked earlier, but Walker, I mean, you first. I mean, I just want to know what you think it means to be a finalist on this list, as well as talk about what it means to be able to generate a list like this, as well as just speak to the importance of the names that are left.
I guess firstly, like, I wish we had something like this when I played. I mean, not even for myself, just to be like, hey, like, look at my teammates who are so under the radar, so good, getting the recognition they deserve. Like it we realize also like how many schools there are in the private school, and like, all right, how do we, hand out all of these awards? I mean, it was so hard to like narrow it down, and it was a true process, and we didn't take this lightly. It's not just an award that we were like, oh, okay, I guess we can throw them on there. No, like it was from special teams to the MVP. We cared about it. We made sure that you do our due diligence. And yeah, when you make this top four, it's a big deal. I mean, it really is. Regardless of classification, when you make those four, you had a great year and you deserve to be recognized. And for the guys who didn't make it, who were on the semifinalists, I mean, all of them had great years. I think some of those receiver of the years, it came down to being like, all right, what 1,000-yard receiver will get in, which is just ridiculous. So if you didn't make the top four, it's honestly okay. At the end of the day, we're a podcast just trying to help out. So, I mean, it is what it is. You don't have to, always be happy about us. and don't, don't care too much about what we say and what we don't say. We're just trying to help out the community. But yeah, it's really cool. I'm happy to do this. I know we're all happy to do this.
No, without a doubt. I mean, it's like you mentioned, it's so incredibly hard to narrow the list down to 4 people. You think it somehow be a little bit easier than the 7, but it's not at all. I just remember, I mean, we've set in hours upon hours of Zoom calls trying to do this, and we get down to like the last remaining spot for a specific category, and we take like 25 minutes on one spot and be like, well, here's this guy's stats, but they're so similar. So let's look at their huddles now. And it just goes on and on and on. But that just speaks to the competitiveness left in these names on this list and just how hard it is to crack into the top 4. Ryan, I basically just going to ask you the same thing I asked Walker. Your thoughts on the importance of the names left on this list and just how dadgum hard it is to eke out a finalist spot among the last 4.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. I mean, you have to think about it. If you're in our shoes and you looked at all these stats, like how would you make a decision? Obviously, we saw a good amount of these guys play, but we didn't see all of them play, right? So some of it is the eye test, but some of it we have to rely on stats a little bit too. And so it's going off of huddles and all that. And, it's crazy. It's a lot more work, and it would be a lot better if we had one person per each school to evaluate each school, but we don't have that. We don't have that many working bodies. It's just the 3 of us. So you have to think about that a little bit. We try our hardest with the information that we're given.
Yeah, we do for sure. I mean, that's all that we can do. But I think that we're all 3 very, very proud with the list we've been able to come up with as kind of the comprehensive, unbiased, standalone list that tells you who the remaining 4 finalists should be in all these categories. So without further ado, we're going to jump into TAPS Division 1, and here are your Texas Private School Podcast Division 1 finalist list. So those are the 4 remaining finalists in each category in Division 1. So guys, I mean, like we mentioned, there is a ridiculous amount of talent on all of those lists. We'll start with MVP. The 4 finalists remaining is Andrew Paul from Parish Episcopal, River Rodriguez from Midland Christian, Isaiah Schmitty from Dallas Bishop Lynch, and Curly Thomas from Fort Worth Nolan Catholic. Those are 4 just incredibly, insanely talented athletes that we've all seen live. I mean, Walker, it's just a crazy amount of talent. I say that over and over and over again, but that just reiterates and proves how much talent there is. What do you think of the names left on this MVP list? And obviously don't spoil who we might be leaning towards to pick, but I mean, just your thoughts on the athletes in that conversation.
I mean, you're talking about 4 D1 guys, and I don't care what anyone would say. You can put River Rodriguez on anywhere on that field. I mean, he's explosive and he can get the job done. So that's how I see it. Yeah, but those are 4 super talented guys that carried their teams to the success to where they wanted to go. 3 offensive guys, and Curly Thomas, the Cal commit, the Cal signee now. And I mean, gave it all to Nolan Catholic for the last 2 years. I think he holds now the sack record there at Nolan Catholic, which I mean, also has, had a lot of great talent, including Nana Osofano-Mensah, who is now at Notre Dame. I mean, pretty good years. And then you also have Andrew Paul, the guy who just got offered by Georgia, the national championship team. That's Georgia. It's ridiculous. And we love seeing his rise. And I know I think Wes, you saw him first and you're like, this is a guy. No, I actually saw him first. I saw him against Bel Air the first week, and I was like, this kid's not pretty good. And then you saw just how good he did the rest of the season and just kind of carried them and dominated in the state championship. And then River, literally, I mean, we all said it. He's one of the most tough guys we've ever seen play. He can do it all for his team and did it all for his team. And then Smecky literally carried Bishop Lynch past St. Thomas and into the semifinals, which no one thought they were going to be there. But just that's how like great they did this year, and you have to give them that recognition. So
No, for sure. Notice how I didn't say without a doubt there.
there you
But
go.
yeah, no, I actually will say, I forgot, I wasn't the first of us to see Andrew Paul, but I think I was there for his breakout game, that 400-yard rushing effort against Nolan Catholic, where he just went absolutely ballistic. And then, by no small coincidence, I think that's where you saw the offers start to snowball up and up and in. But yeah, 4 incredibly talented names on that list. Ryan, I'm going to ask you the same thing. 4 just absolutely freak athletes. Your thoughts on the finalists left in the most valuable player category?
I mean, yeah, I actually got to see Curly Thomas play. That was one of the guys I actually got to see because I got to see Nolan Catholic play. I'm telling you right now, that team is led, that defensive line, which is very talented, is led by Curly. Curly loves his teammates. He's all out for that, and he plays hard. And there's a reason why he is going to Cal. He had other options, by the way, too. And he's going to such a great Pac-12 school. I mean, the man has done it all for his team, done it all for Nolan Catholic while he's been there. And there's nothing you could tell me that reason why he's not great. The rest of these guys on this list go without a doubt. I mean, Isaiah Schmidt, River Rodriguez, and Andrew Paul are all amazing. But I want to give, Curly, defensive player, only defensive player in the finalist list should mean something. It should mean a good amount to how good of a player he is. But yeah, nothing to take away from Andrew Paul, nothing to take away from Isaiah Schmidt, and nothing to take away from River Rodriguez. River Rodriguez played his heart out in those games, and Andrew Paul is just another one of those players where we see him pop up, we see these type of guys pop up, and we're like, yep, that's a pretty dang good guy. That's a pretty dang good guy. That's a guy that you see, and he's kind of a once in 4 years kind of guy. Like it's a once in 4 years you see an athlete like that, right? And then Isaiah Schmidt. Talk about putting your team on your entire back and, trying to walk all the way to the championship. He was close. Semifinalist, but he did as much as he could. So very, very great 4 athletes on the MVP list.
No, I remember specifically, I was watching Bishop Lynch play at St. Pius, and St. Pius won that game, but I just remember a specific play I saw where Isaiah just absolutely exploded out of the backfield, went for like 70 yards, but it just was the explosive, quick twitch athleticism of him that really, really stood out to me. And it's part of the reason he's on this list. I mean, he's an incredible athlete. Like everyone has said, he put Lynch on his back and carried them as far as he could go. And he, without question, deserves a spot on this list. But we obviously can't detail all of the categories because there's just a ridiculous amount of volume. But Walker, I'll turn to you first. Is there anything else that you want to hit on while we're still in Division One?
For sure. One, receiver of the year. I think it's all 1,000-yard receivers. All were studs this year. And how are we supposed to pick one? Quarterback of the year, you have Jake Wright, River Rodriguez, Sawyer Anderson, and Silas Gomez. What are those? Two of the you have Silas is going to, where is he going? Sam Houston State. Sawyer Anderson, the 25 phenom, who's already been offered by Power Fives. And then River Rodriguez, the staple there at Midland, and then Jake Wright, who is going to Pitt State. So 4 guys, all great, talented players. Even the newcomer award, and then underclassmen, all very, very tough decisions where you're going to have to make for the final winner, I guess.
No, it's that the receivers, like we mentioned earlier, is an incredible position, not just in D1, but D1 through D4. The talent, the cumulative talent and all it taps at the receiver position, goodness, is just incredibly impressive. That makes me happy as a former receiver. There's nothing I love more than good receiver play. Ryan, your thoughts on any other spot on this Division One list?
I'm gonna tell you the lineman for defensive lineman. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. I mean, you got 2 Nolan Catholic guys on that list, and you got a Bishop Lynch kid on there, Webster Walls, who I think is right in contention with all these, and you got a guy like Trey Williams, who was the the leading heavy hand for that Paris defense, right? Like he was the one that was the power throw on that line. But I think it should tell you something when you have two Nolan guys. You have Curly Thomas, who we just said was going out for MVP. He had a guy on his line with him that is also in for this finalist for defensive line contention, right? Like that should mean something for how good that defensive line was at Nolan this year. And if you don't see that by the fact that these guys just wrapped up every single quarterback, I don't know what you're looking at. Defensive line, clearly, in my opinion, is one, like the team that wins defensive line is Nolan Catholic. And in my opinion, I mean, that probably makes a little bit of sense here, right? But yeah, definitely athlete after athlete on that defensive line list.
Without a doubt, the position group that really captivates me, and I know did all of us when we were narrowing this down, linebacker in Division One. Having to narrow that down to 4 guys was so dadgum hard. I don't know how we're going to choose a winner. Between those 4 guys, all of their stats are just absolutely insane. And I've watched all 4 of them in person, and all 4 of them, seeing them in person doesn't help differentiate any of them either. They're all that good. And I do not know how we're going to be able to separate one as a winner of those 4. They're all incredible. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I mean, that's Division One. Those are all of our finalists, and we will have the winner out sometime in the next month or so. And without further ado, I want to present to you your Texas Private School Podcast Division II Award Show finalists. So those are our finalists for TAPS Division II. As always, we will start by analyzing MVP. And yet again, like I mentioned, every single time the talent is incredible. You have Tyson Flowers from Walker's alum, Fort Worth Southwest Christian. You have Brady Dever from Fort Bend Christian, Gabriel Grubbs from Dallas Christian, and Everett Skillen from Second Baptist. All 4 of these guys, if you take them off of their team, that team is significantly worse. And that's what the award is. It's most valuable player. It's how valuable that player is to their individual team. And, we watched all 4 of these guys live, and we could all tell you, if you wanted us to point to one guy on that team, even blindfolded, we would point to them. That's how good these guys are. Walker, 4 names left in TAPS D2 MVP. Your thoughts on the overall list and what sticks out to you from this?
I mean, we said last time, but again, in Division II, 4 D1 guys. I don't like Brady Dever is a D1 quarterback. He absolutely is. And the other 3 guys are talented dudes. Those seniors are very good. I guess most valuable, like you said, the most valuable guy for their team. You see them make their plays, do what they need to do, and also be kind of the leaders for their team when they need to be. Like those are the guys you can rely on to get the job done. And when you need a play to happen, you go to them. And that's all 4 of those guys can do that. Very talented guys. We have defensive side of the ball and offensive side of the ball for all those guys. Well, besides Brady, of course. But I mean, yeah, that list is ridiculous.
No, it really is. I mean, those 4 guys are without a doubt leaders of their team, in the locker room as well as on the field and in the stat sheet. Ryan, your thoughts on the 4 guys we have remaining at TAPS D2 MVP?
That's what I was going to bring up. That whole idea that all these guys play both sides of the ball, or at least the guys that aren't the quarterback of their team, right? I mean, I would like to say that it's still D2. It's not D1, but it's D2, right? You're still at a very high level, right, of football where, it's very draining to play both sides of the ball, right? Not a lot of guys play both sides of the ball still. I mean, there's not a lot out there that can play them well, but Tyson Flowers, Gabriel Grubbs, and Everett Skillen all play both sides of the ball extremely well. And then Brady Dever leads an entire Fort Bend Christian, just to beat Austin Regents, right? So that should mean something. That should mean something more than what we realized, right? So, in my opinion, these are MVP guys because they are the most valuable player. And like we said, if you took them off their team, the team plummets, in my opinion. The team plummets. And I would have to restructure just to fill the gaping holes that these guys leave.
No, they are all incredibly vital to the success of their respective teams. I don't think you will find a single sane person out there that would argue that point. However, that's it for MVP. I mean, is there anything else that, Walker, yet again, I'll start with you, that you want to hit on? I mean, there's just so many categories in D2 you can pick apart, but what's one that sticks out to you specifically?
I could always say receiver, so I'll just say that firstly. But running back too. Running back is those four guys are dogs, man. I mean, I think they all have over 1,400 yards of rushing. I mean, that's ridiculous for a running back. And then running linebacker was really good. And then DB, man. Yeah. How are you supposed to decide between Gabriel Grubbs, Tyson Flowers, Derek Felder, and Everett Skillern? Like, how are we supposed to sit down and decide that? Like, multiple interceptions for all those guys, tackles when they need to, PBUs when they need to. I mean, the stats go on, and any coach in America would love to have those guys. Maybe not Matter Day, but you get what I mean. So, but yeah, talented dudes, all those guys.
I don't know. I think Matter Day might be even looking at a couple of them, but no, it's incredible talent all across the board. Ryan, give me a specific category that sticks out to you from Division Two.
Yeah, let me clarify myself real quick. I mistaken for Ben for Second Baptist for a second, so they did not beat Regents.
You shouldn't do that. They don't like each other very much. I don't think you should do that.
I know I shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake of mine. But going back to this, the one that I would choose definitely has to be, in my opinion. I know this is kind of copycat, but QB is definitely mine. I know that's like the one that, it's obviously going to be great in every category, but Brady Dever, Drew Dickey, Carson Kruger, and Luigi Cristiano, like, you cannot tell me that these guys are not all dogs. And I specifically want to say Brady and Drew are both incredible in their own aspects, and both these guys can make their own case for being better than the other, right? In each opinion. Like, there's some cases where people think that Drew Dickey is better, some cases where people think Brady Dever is better, and then you still got guys like Carson Kruger and Luigi Cristiano who both put in their side for QB. So I don't know. That's my category though.
Yeah, how about Luigi Cristiano, by the way, from Brownsville St. Joseph, a name that I guarantee you not a lot of casual fans know. This man's stats were absolutely ridiculous. I don't have them in front of me, but they are just insane. And for it to come out of Brownsville St. Joseph, I guarantee you he's flown so far under the radar, and he's going to surprise a lot of people showing up on this list. But if you haven't already, please go check out Luigi Cristiano's stats. It'll literally blow your mind. The kid's insanely talented. However, that is all that we have for TAPS Division 2. So let us move in and announce the Texas Private School Podcast Award Show TAPS Division 3 finalists. So yet again, those were the finalists in TAPS Division 3. As we always do, we will start with MVP. I'm trying to think of something to say besides there's a lot of talent in this category, because I don't think I can say that for every single category, even though there is. But I mean, just looking, you have Enau Etta from Covenant Christian, one of the most highly sought after guys in all of TAPS, if not the most highly sought after. He's right up there with Andrew Paul. And you have Marcus Ramon Edwards, the Texas Tech offer. You have Baxton Townsend, the gunslinger from Lubbock Christian, and you have Maxwell Landrum from Cypress Christian, the state champion quarterback. Walker, I mean, see, I was going to say the whole talent thing again, so I'll just turn to you. I mean, 4 guys, ridiculous athleticism. Your thoughts on the names compiled in this most valuable player list for D3?
Oh, I mean, studs from top to bottom, dogs from top to bottom. When you need to make a play, you go to those guys. Like I said last time, they're very, very talented, and they use that talent to the best of their abilities. And you see how well Baxton fit in this year, and kind of took over for, I believe, what's his name, Lack from last year, and Connor. I think it's what is his brother's name? His brother's name is Connor. Is it Alex? I think it's Alex. Anyways, yeah, Baxton took over the helm for that quarterback spot there at Lubbock Christian and just dominated again, just like Lack did last year. And Marcus Ramon Edwards was a guy we kind of slowly talked about over the year. And we were like, hey, there's this kid over there at TCS Lubbock. And we were like, who's this kid? Who's this kid? And you saw him slowly just keep going and going and going until we saw him in the state game. And we were like, holy cow, this kid's legit and is just insane to watch. And then Landrum is like, in that Hogan led offense, right? Always is, you have that staple at quarterback, you know, for him, when he was at Griffin Faith, of course, it was his son and the guys before him. I just don't remember because I never played when that was not my time. But Maxwell's that guy for Hogan, and he can rely on him. Hey, if you need him to run the ball, he can. If you need him to pass the ball, he can. He can do both. He's athletic. He's mobile. He can get the job done, and that's what you want in a quarterback. Hey, give him the ball, he'll get the job done, and that's what you want. And then, of course, I mean, you could say a whole speech about and how great he is. The recently offered LSU Tiger. I mean, that's ridiculous. I've seen, what was it, a year ago when we started this whole thing, we said his name and we were the first people to ever talk about him on a national stage. And we were like, hey, like, there's this kid. And I told y'all, I was like, this kid's going to be the real deal. And look where he is now. And so all 4 of these guys, studs, we're excited to see them, some of those guys next year and just see how good they are. So yeah, talent.
For sure. I mean, it's really exciting, like you mentioned, to see kids like Enow grow even in just a year's time from someone where like people would just look at him and be like, he's going to be really, really good, to just all of a sudden, bam, Power 5 offers just out the wazoo. Just incredible to be able to watch. Ryan, your thoughts on the 4 guys we have left in most valuable player for Division III?
Yeah, I already was thinking like Marcus Ramon Edwards is the guy that I thought like stuck out because I remember seeing him play in the state game. And I didn't see Maxwell Landrum and all that, but just seeing that fight between Marcus Ramon Edwards and Maxwell Landrum in the state championship game, that meant something to me. Cause I'm like, these guys are tough for sure. And then Baxton Townsend, I mean, the man literally led his team. Who would have thought Lubbock Christian would have made that run? Who would have thought they would have made that run? Nobody was thought about that. And clearly it was in the back of his head, or not in the back, in the front of his head. It would have been, he was like, we're not going to stop. And clearly he was the one that led that offense. And then you got a guy that like, at telling everybody that there's talent in TAPS D3. There's talent in TAPS D3. It's located in Colleyville Covenant. That's where it's located. Right. No, I'm just kidding. It's located all over, but it's clearly, was that guy that we were trying to tell you about. And mostly Walker pinpointed it right on the head, saying this is the dog in the next few years. And sure enough, showed up on the main stage. I mean, someone must have been watching our podcast, right? That's what I have to think, right?
Can we talk about that? Like when we talked to him a year ago, we discussed it and he was like, yeah, this is my first year actually kind of like training. And I was more of a basketball guy coming into football. And you're like first time in the weight room, first time actually training this off season. And you see the stats he put up and you're like, I get it. Like the athleticism that kid has and so much potential. It's ridiculous, man. And you put him in the college weight room. Oh, I'm excited to see him progress, man. He deserves everything. And I hope the best for him.
That's a steal. That's a steal right there. Like anyone that takes that, man, that's a steal because like people will only see some of the stats and be like, oh, like not realize that background of him not going in the weight room until later in his high school career.
Yep.
Come on. That's crazy.
And you can, and like, I guess like this, he had great stats last year, and that's why he was so highly regarded. And you come into this year and you're like, oh, well, okay, a kid of that talent should be doing that. That's what he did, and he did more. Like,
Right.
he's like, for TAPS Division 3, we all know it's not like it's UIL 6A. It's not. So for the stats you should be putting up, he did, and that's why I loved seeing him do that this year.
While most likely being double teamed the entire season, because I mean that's just what makes it that much more important, just because you have two live human bodies in front of you that are trying with all their might to prevent you from getting the quarterback. And Etta picks them both up, throws them 15 yards to the side, and runs to the quarterback and sacks him 20 plus times, by the way. So yet again, as much as I'd love to continue talking about Etta just because of how good he is, it's not the Etta show. So Walker, I'm going to need you to pick a point on the map and show us your thoughts on one more category in TAPS Division 3.
Okay, I will for sure. Quarterback of the year. You have four guys who are great quarterbacks there in TAPS Division 3. Talton, Landrum, Prazak, and Townsend are all great quarterbacks, and they're all different from each other in how they play. And they're very, very good seasons for all of them. Running back of the year, all four of them, I believe, had over 1,000 yards rushing and had great years for them. And you saw how good they were. And then what else? DB of the year. I mean, I really think most of those, every single guy on that DB list had like 5 interceptions, which is a sensational year for a DB. And then we're like, all right, now who do we pick? That's how good these DBs are for TAPS Division 3.
No, that's definitely correct. There's a bunch of very closely contested categories, which Ryan, I will now ask you to pick from. Which is a category that you want to talk about from the Division 3 of the Texas Association of Private and Parochial Schools?
Underclassmen of the year. Are you kidding me? Come on. Caden Lehue, Gibby Alvarado, Zeke Hogan, and Kevin Doddard. That is a stack of guys that in 2 years are going to be the leaders of TAPS D3. I mean, I know they're already doing it right now, and then obviously, well, if they're doing it right now, they're going to do it in 2 years. But I mean, that's serious though. Like, these guys are studs. Gibby Alvarado, the quarterback for San Antonio Holy Cross. You have Caden Lehue. You have Zeke Hogan, who was the son of coach. Who we've already seen what a son of a coach can do in TAPS.
Yeah, and he started as a freshman too for Cypress, which is very impressive.
Right. And then Kevin Doddard started as a freshman at Lake Country Christian. Yep. As a dual sport athlete, football and basketball. I mean, you're telling me that all these kids are going to be the upcoming for D3. I'm excited.
Yeah, as you should be. Go on.
No, and I was going to say, flip it over to newcomer of the year too. 4 guys who came in and just had a great year for their teams. And you mentioned Doddard, and I want to mention Dougie Doddard, a guy that it was very hard to take off that list. And those Doddards in 24 for Lake Country, they had a down year this year for losing Whites. Give it a year or two, those guys are going to help that team rise to the occasion. Those Doddard boys are the real deal. But yeah, newcomer of the year, Mathis, Townsend, Newhouse, and Alvarado. You see, that's the DFW in me. I say Alvarado, but I don't know exactly how to say it. But yeah, Gibby there too. I mean, sensational years for all of them. But yeah, those Doddard boys, one to watch.
It'll be a very interesting couple years in Division 3 with that much talent, that much young talent. I am really excited to see how they progress and how they kind of change the landscape of that division of TAPS. But speaking of that, we now come to the final division of TAPS, as we are pleased to announce the Texas Private School Podcast Award Show finalist for TAPS Division 4. And those are your Texas Private School Podcast Award Show Division 4 finalists. As always, we will discuss MVP first, where you see Levi Hancock from Brazos Christian, Zach Johnson from the 4-time defending state champion Shiner St. Paul, Seth Swerenski from Munster Sacred Heart, and Zane O'Donnell from Weatherford Christian. Four players that are a lot better than you would think you would find in TAPS Division 4. I mean, Walker, we've got a ton of talent. I just keep saying it.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna do it. I knew you were gonna do it. I knew you were gonna do it. I was waiting
Hey,
for it.
when there is this much talent, I mean, what how else are you supposed to say? Prowess? That's not even the right word.
I'm trying to think. I'm not a human dictionary.
There's a
I'm just trying
lot
to
of
think
good
different
players.
nouns.
A lot of good players.
No, I've already said that like 12 times too, but there are a lot of good players, and we got 4 of them right here in this category. Walker, what do you think of the last 4 guys we have remaining in TAPS D4 MVP?
By the way, I looked up synonyms for talent. Gift, you could say gift.
Oh, they're gifted. They're very
Oh, they're
gifted.
gifted.
Technique, expertise.
Technical. They're
experts.
Yeah, capacity. They have great capacity.
They're capable
Yeah.
of being expertise.
There's a lot of capability left among these.
But anyways, I guess back to the topic at hand. I mean, 4 guys who, we talk about Levi and Zach all the time, so I don't want to say too much about them, even though, they're great. Zach Johnson's a legend D4. Levi is one of the biggest names in D4 just because he's going to A&M and just how much talent he went off. Ford Player of the Year or Player of the Weeks. I mean, it's insane. And then guy Seth Swazinski, who we didn't get to see live until, of course, the last game of the Division 4 state championship, and he played great. I mean, it was just hard to, with a team like Shiner St. Paul, but I mean, the Swarinski brothers are really, really good, and Seth was the real deal. And I believe he wants to play in college, so hopefully he does. And then Zane O'Donnell was a guy that we found out over time, and we were like, this kid put up the stats this year. And with a Weatherford team that beat Covenant and, had a great run, we were like, how do we not put him in here? And so Zane had a fantastic year on both sides of the ball, on offense, doing receiving, rushing. I even playing a little bit of quarterback too. I mean, doing Mr. Do It All, and was like we always say, most valuable player. And that's why he's there. So all 4 guys, really, really good.
They are without question. 4 guys that are let me go to my thesaurus, that are very brilliant. Sure. Let's go with that. I don't know if it's talent synonym, but we'll roll with it. Ryan, your thoughts on the 4 remaining capable names on this list?
Yeah, they're very good. They're great. Yeah, I don't know anymore. There's something at the game of football, and I think that means a lot to, just to, the fact that we always say it, even the D3 and the D4 always have these top level high talent. You got a guy that's going to an SEC, SEC school to play football, and he's sitting in TAPS D4. You cannot tell me that there isn't. It doesn't matter what level you're at, by the way. So that's the thing I want to send out to everybody is there's guys that have been playing football in these towns. Zach Johnson played football for 4 years straight for Shiner St. Paul. And there's a ton of other guys that have all done it. That played all 4 years straight for the same schools and grew up in these towns. And they're making a name for themselves, which means that in my opinion, any of these guys can make a name for themselves in any variation of TAPS, right? So in my opinion, I think all these guys just put out their heart on the line for their team. And I honestly think for D2, with the whole thing, how we said, if you took one of these guys off their team, they would not be like the same as like that team. I'm going to argue that if you took Levi Hancock off Brazos Christian, I'm pretty sure that team just like they go out of a school. Like there's no more school there anymore. I'm pretty sure Brazos Christian falls as a school if Levi Hancock leaves. Same thing for Shiner St. Paul. Zach Johnson runs that offense and has run it for 4 years, and they're just gonna crumble. I say that they just keep winning state championships every year. So maybe they won't crumble as much. But yeah, I thought I'd bring that back up.
I got to make an objection. The more you look into it, the more you realize the pieces that
Brazos team and Shiner do.
Yeah, no, I mean, Levi had a lot of pieces around him. I mean, you had yeah, Striker Gay, you have Ryan Burton, you have a bunch of those other guys. They actually had a very solid team this year. I'm not just saying that because they're the hometown kids, but yeah, there's a
bias, so much bias. You're wondering where the bias is. It's with Wes Tolleson
Hey,
and Brian Brazos.
Levi was the distributor. He has to throw it to someone and hand it off to someone else. I mean,
True.
and has someone to have to block with them. So I mean, Hayden Tillery, Ryan Burton, Striker Gay, like you mentioned, Harris Powers, other guys, very good for Brazos. So I have to shout out those guys. And also on the other side, Shiner, I mean, Noah Bodeker is a great guy, one of the favorites for the pod. And then also Elliot Peters on the offensive defensive line is also really good players for Shiner. And the guys we awarded down the line for the finalist.
No, obviously. Ryan, say Brazos.
Brazos?
Brazos?
Brazos.
No, Brazos.
Brazos.
No.
Brazos? Where's the U?
Brazos.
Brazos.
It's basically
David Brazos Christian. Brazos
man,
Christian.
I grew up in East Texas. I can't change the way I speak. However, that oh yeah, I need another category. Walker, give me another category that you like from Division 4 that you want to speak on, because there is a lot. Despite it being D4, there's still a lot. I can't say talent. There's a lot of
gifted athletes,
proficiency. D4.
That's a great word.
But the source says it is.
Underclassman of the year. Ryan Straczynski was a big time player for that Munster Sacred Heart team. And then you have Hunter McCoy from Weatherford, Nick Angerstein from Hallettsville Sacred Heart, who was a big time kicker, but also at the same time played at other positions. And then Caleb Mitchell might be one of my favorites, 2025 guys in the whole of private school. And the more we talk about this 25 class, you know, we are always like, oh, well, there's guys coming up. No, this 25 class is kind of the real deal. And he's going to be one of those big time players over there in Caleb Mitchell. He's one to watch, and he had a great year this year, and he will be very good for the next couple of years. Him and his quarterback, James. Yeah, that running back, Seth Rosinski, Zach Johnson, Noah Bodeker, and Ezra Jackson, all really good players. Receiver of the year was really good. And also defensive player of the year, 4 guys who had a fantastic years for their schools. But yeah, I think that's really it. There's your categories, Wes.
Those are all incredible athletes in their own right. Ryan, I'm going to need at least one category from you that you think that you want to talk about regarding D4, and just I'll screw it up. Just the talent that in D4.
Oh, no way you said it. No way.
I'm tired of finding different nouns.
No, I think it's straight up with QB and running back. I think you can combine both those. I know you said one, but I'll give you 2. I love how the brothers from Sacred Heart, Munster Sacred Heart, make that quarterback and running back list together. And then I love how 2 of the guys that we had a pretty good connection with from Shiner St. Paul both make the running back list as well. It just proves that, you know, even with all these talented athletes in Division 4, you have so much competition still within these awards, right? And then I just said Seth Brzezinski, and I said Zach Johnson, Noah Bodeker. I'm forgetting about Ezra Jackson. Ezra Jackson still put up 1,212 touchdowns this year, right? Like, still an absolute stud for Weatherford Christian, and did as much as he could for that team, right? So yeah, too much talent in too many areas of TAPS. What? I said talent? Oh.
I mean, that's what it is. There is a ridiculous amount of good athletes all the way down through Division 4 that people just fail to understand. But yeah, I mean, that just goes to tell you TAPS D1 through D4, like I've said a million times, there's talent everywhere if you're willing to look hard enough. But that concludes our TAPS awards. And now we move into our final awards category, the Texas Private School Podcast Award Show, SPC 4A and 3A finalists. And those are your Texas Private School Podcast SPC finalists. We will start with the most valuable player. 4 guys that are all fantastic in their own right. You have Dylan Bell, the Georgia commit from Houston Kincaid. You have Vaughn McKeever from John Cooper, Patrick Burke from Episcopal School of Dallas, and John Purdue, the Brown commit from St. John's. Walker, these are 4 guys that all did a ridiculous amount for their respective teams. Your thoughts on these 4 guys and their chances at the MVP?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll go through it. John Purdue, a guy that we didn't really know much about in the SBC level before this year, and even really Houston St. John's being real, and learning more about that school and, how they all, came at us that one week for, picking against them. And so from then we were like, all right, they got some dogs over there. And John Purdue, the Brown commit, and now I believe Sonny probably, just had a fantastic year. Did both sides of the ball, did everything for that team, who was pretty much probably the 3rd or 4th team in SBC overall. So great year for them. Patrick Burke came in and helped ESE to a 10-0 record. And then sadly, of course, lost in the state championship. But I mean, 10-0 is nothing to, shrug about. Great year, great player. And I'm excited because I believe he's a 23. I could be wrong about that. Yeah, he's a 23. But yeah, Patrick Burke, sensational player, and we'll have another year under his belt to lead that ESD team. Sensational player, helped them to a 10-0 record in the regular season. Did everything he could, running the ball, passing the ball. Just instant impact type of player for that team, and came in and dominated. And that's something they needed there to ESD to help them have the success they had. And then, I mean, Vaughn McKeever is a guy that when Wes went and saw, and you can talk about it more, but I mean, was a guy, right? Like, and then, hearing from what Ryan had to say when he went and watched him in the state championship, and, I didn't get to watch him, and I watched this film, and you're like, this kid is a real deal 23, and is another guy in that 23 quarterback class who was pretty dang good and did anything from his, with his arm, with his legs, could do anything for that team. And I got guys reaching out and be like, hey, you got to nominate this kid for something. This kid's the real deal. And he showed it this year. And then Dylan Bell, Georgia commit, not signee yet, but the Georgia commit went off this year. And as expected, one of the best players in private school, maybe if not the best, kind of went off this year and did everything you needed him to do. And in the biggest lights and the biggest moments, came up and played and dominated. And Ryan could talk more about his performance in the state championship game. But I mean, yeah, he's ridiculous and is as good as expected a man like his, I guess, prowess should be.
No, for sure. I mean, I watched 2 of those guys in person. Dylan Bell is obviously just Dylan Bell. I mean, he's fantastic. I watched him first game of the season against Second Baptist, and he is just an electric athlete that everyone already knows that. However, not a lot of people know about Vaughn McKeever. I'll scream it from the hilltops until the day I die. Vaughn McKeever is a hidden gem down in the Woodlands in the 23 quarterback class. He is so dadgum good. I don't even think he's close to hitting his full potential yet. He's got a very wide frame. You can put a lot of muscle on him. He still has a ton of room to develop, even though he's already a 23. He has so much more potential, I promise. So if you haven't already, look into Vaughn McKeever. Fantastic talent. I will continue to say it as long as I have a platform to say it. But Patrick Burke and John Purdue, obviously, both also incredible athletes in their own rights. I still think one of my favorite moments of the season is whenever St. John's, who did they upset?
Did they beat Second Baptist? Maybe. I'll look at it.
We'll figure it out. They upset somebody, but then getting everyone in our comments after that.
They beat Fort Bend. That's what they did
before. I remember that my specific quote was, "I don't see Fort Bend losing to a middle of the road team, SBC team like St. John's," and that was probably the worst hot take I've ever had in my life. But it was hilarious to see all the engagement we got off of that, which is really fun. But John Purdue, Patrick Burke, both incredible quarterbacks in their own right. Are both incredible players in their own right. Ryan, your thoughts on the SBC MVP list?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a all of the MVPs play besides John Purdue. I saw Dylan Bell play and was nothing short of fantastic. He threw a touchdown pass, he ran a touchdown pass, and caught a touchdown pass in the game that I saw. So that's pretty dang good. Von McKeever is the absolute sling thrower, whatever you want to call John Cooper's quarterback. Von McKeever, absolute stud for them. And then Patrick Burke was one of the most composed quarterbacks I saw having to play against, a team like Houston Kincaid and what they were. Patrick Burke led that EST team to the championship and led them to a 10-0 season. Right. So I have lots of good to say about Patrick Burke, and all I've known about John Purdue is that he's just going to Brown. It must mean something that, that nothing better than I can do, even academically. He did it academically and athletically. So clearly he must be better than me in that aspect. But I definitely think all four of these guys are super deserving, and it shows that SBC has got a lot of great athletes.
No, it obviously does. I mean, SBC is a little bit lesser known than TAPS is as an organization, but yet again, just looking at the MVP list, you have two of those guys are Division I commits. So it just tells you how much, I'm going to say it again, talent is in any level of private school in Texas. Walker, you already know I'm going to ask you. I'm going to need you to find another category on this list and just tell me what you like about it. So I hope you've been cooking that up and you have one for us presently.
Where am I muted? No, I am not. Good.
No.
Receiver of the year was really good. All four of those guys, that were really, really talented players. Defensive player of the year was really good too. Gamble, Reed, LaSalle, Kennedy, and Edwards, all great players. I was just really, really impressed with these guys, man. I mean, they're even newcomer is probably the biggest for me, newcomer and underclassmen, because there's a lot of guys on those lists that are very, very talented. Cole Allen is a guy who was recommended to me by other coaches in SBC and said, hey, this kid is the real deal and you have to look at him. And then, Patrick Burke, Von McKeever, three guys right there that made such an impact for their team. And then underclassmen, Cole Allen again, Capobianco for Kincaid is a 24 quarterback who helped them, and just kind of like, you would think they'd be like, oh yeah, just hand the ball off to Micah and just throw the ball to, Cam and Dylan. But no, he did some stuff by himself and was a very impactful player for that team. And then a guy from my area who I really like, Gavin Parkhurst, is a 25 quarterback there at Trinity Valley, who kind of stepped into the helm this year and kind of went off for 1,700 yards and almost let them go to the state championship this year. So those newcomer underclassmen guys, real deal.
They are without a question. Nothing excites me more than seeing really, really good young talent in private school, just because the next few years you have incredible athletes coming up. If they're this good now, how much are they going to progress in the next few years? And it's always just fun to speculate and then see them grow into those roles. Ryan, for the final time this episode, I'm going to need you to pick a category out of SBC and talk about what you like about it.
So I have two categories, and these are probably the two of the most confident categories I've had all night. Defensive player of the year: Gamble, Reed, Chase Kennedy, Alex Assad, and Bo Edwards. You could not describe to me any other way that those guys are just absolutely great players. Gamble Reed is an absolutely great defensive lineman. You have Chase Kennedy, who is by far where's Chase Kennedy going to school? I know he's going somewhere.
Utah,
insane.
the Utes.
Right. And Utah was insanely good this year in football. Right. I'm telling you right now, there is so many studs. Bo Edwards is also a defensive lineman. All these guys are just absolutely just pain for quarterbacks and offensive linemen. Then the category that blows it out of the water: running back. Jackson Pierce had 5 touchdowns in the state game. He had 5 touchdowns. And then you have Micah Bell, who has already started to be listed as higher than Dylan Bell. He's a 4-star right now, a 4-star, and he's listed higher than his brother who's going to Georgia, who just won the championship. Like Devin Comstock, another great player for Cistercian, and Colin Nicholson, who was the great running back for ESD, who, in my opinion, was another part of that offense that succeeded with this 10-0 success this year. It wasn't just Patrick Burke. Colin Nicholson had a great season himself as well. So that running back category is probably my most confident category out of all of these things. Like, that is such an underrated category. It has so many stars in there. And that's not even like, that's kind of ironic. I said that stars as in 4-star Micah Bell. Come on, y'all.
I'm trying to think, is 4-star Micah Bell technically the highest rated recruit in TAP/SBC? Because Andrew Paul's a 3-star.
Which
Dylan,
is ridiculous. I want to say that right now. That
is
is ridiculous. Nobody from Georgia is a 3-star. Even Micah's not a 3-star. Or Dylan, I apologize. But yeah. It might be NL, actually. NL Etta.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it actually might be. I forgot. I think he's a 4-star.
No, he is.
And
no one's a 5.
Keep my NL. NL's a 5?
No one's a 5 this year in private school. The Brockenmeyers, Tommy was the last 5-star with Donovan Jackson.
But let that be known. Let that be known. Anybody anywhere in TAPS, there's a D3 player that's a 4-star and leads the entire private school in rating for, like, whatever you want to call that, stars, whatever.
Hang on, what is that? 935, 937? No, Micah is technically what is that? A 2,000th of a points higher than he now. So
a little bit.
But basically, it's basically the same thing. Both
right.
To have those two, the number 28 recruit in Texas and the number 29 recruit in Texas, like, reside in D3 and SPC. It's ridiculous.
Let that mean also something.
It really does. I like the chord I hit on your recruiter in you when I mentioned Andrew Paul being a 3-star. That was a fun little rant to see.
Do you like? I'll give them this. They haven't updated their stuff lately, but I mean, a kid from getting all the offers he has recently, a kid who's probably like, he hasn't reset it, but from the offers, and you just think logically, probably is Georgia's in there, Clemson's in there. I think Michigan and Michigan State are in there.
Yeah, you have coach after coach walking into the office of Daniel Novikov. I don't know if y'all seen those.
I have. I've really enjoyed following that. By the way,
he's been in Novikov's office every single day.
He's a guy, like, honestly, like, I even for A&M, I would have wanted to at least be interested, but of course A&M got their guy already. But I mean, Andrew Paul's the real deal, man. Ridiculous. And I guess we're already kind of wrapping it up. That's why I'll say that. But yeah.
No, just electric. I like the little impromptu top basically 3 prospects and TAPS. It was a nice little natural segue to end the episode on. And before we get out of here, we have to mention our superlatives. These are our overall awards that include large school coach of the year, small school coach of the year, large school player of the year, and small school player of the year. So without further ado, here are your Texas Private School Podcast Award Show superlatives. And those are your overall awards for your Texas Private School Podcast Award Show. I mean, yet again, I'm not going to say talent. There is a just ton of good players and coaches on these lists. Walker, pick anything that you want to talk about from the overall awards and just kind of describe the thought process and what it means to be left on that list.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll go to the players, I guess, first. The large school player of the year. I mean, that is going to be so hard to figure out where we go with that. You're talking about 4 guys who are the real deal and did everything for their team, had insane stats, were just ridiculous all season. And you have to give them credit. Just very, very, very good players, helped their team to success. Parrish, Dallas, and Kincaid all went to the state championship and won it. And Brady Dever helped their team to the semifinalists after having 4,000 yards passing, which is absolutely ridiculous. 60 touchdowns, insane year for him. And then small school, you have the legend Zach Johnson, Vaughn McKeever, the superstar there for John Cooper, who helped them go to the state championship and win it. Covenant Iniesta, I mean, he's in Iniesta, had a fantastic year. And then Levi Hancock, the guy who helped Brian Brazos Christian to basically should have been the state championship, but of course they had ran into the Shiner St. Paul in the second round. So sad about that. But I mean, Levi Hancock was the stud down there and going to A&M next year. I guess y'all can talk about the coaches if you want, but man, those players, insane stats and great years.
Ryan, your thoughts on any part of this list that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'll talk about the coaches. I mean, you got large school, and I like that we got to bring in Steve Hayes on the list, the Trinity Christian Addison coach. I feel like that is something that just because they weren't in TAPS this year, and we want to give him some love because they still had a great season, even though they played only outside of
they were
what were they this year?
So I think they're TAPS D5, but it just means that they would be TAPS D1 and they will be there next year, but they just kind of played out of just a schedule of like whatever teams they wanted to play, but they had like 3 teams like actually in their district, I think. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, continue.
Close. Gotcha. And you got 2 state champions right there, and then you got Jeremy Flowers, who basically coached what I would have thought would have been the runner-up, in my opinion. I thought Southwest, if they could play, if they didn't run into Dallas Christian, and then obviously if they were on the other side, is what I'm trying to say, then they would have put up a state championship like game. And then for the small school, you have I'll start with Jake Waxsmith, literally the Shiner St. Paul coach, who's been winning year after year after year. You have Chris Hogan, who we've seen win it in D2, and now he's won it in D3. And then you have Eric DeHaven, who won it in for John Cooper, and got himself a championship. What a great atmosphere that was. I was there for every single one of these championships, is what I'll tell you right now. I was there for the Cypress Championship with Chris Hogan. I was there for the state championship with Jake Waxsmith, and I was there for the state championship with Eric DeHaven. And I can just tell you, the love that these coaches have for their players is unmatched. And then you had a guy who was the runner-up, but I'm telling you, love these kids and carry these kids and put them in the right mindset in order to get to the spot. Kevin Spiller, he put TCS Lubbock on a mission to get to the state championship, and it's sad that they ran into Chris Hogan, but there's no other coach that would have been able to do that with that team. Kevin Spiller did it all with them.
Yeah, I mean, yet again, it's no easier to narrow down the superlatives as it is the rest of the awards. It's even actually, I'd argue, more difficult because you have a lot more talent compressed into a smaller category of award. But, I think we're all comfortable with the 4 names that we have on this list. We'll lose maybe a little bit of sleep over some incredible athletes and coaches we had to cut out. But make sure you tune in to the champion or to the final award show to figure out who wins each superlative category. But I mean, that being said, that is all of our Texas Private School Podcast Award Show finalists. So we have it down to 4, thank God, in every category. And just to give kind of a general timeline, I mean, these are subject to change. Yet again, we're 3 college students. This isn't the only thing we do, believe it or not. We all have a ridiculous amount on our plate, and we get this done as quickly as we can given the circumstances. But I mean, Walker, correct me if I'm wrong, we're probably looking at being able to have the winners out by mid-late February, maybe. That's the tentative schedule.
That's the tentative schedule. And because it's not just that, we pretty much have kind of the winners maybe decided on some of them, but we still got to lay them out, figure all of them out. And then, of course, getting the graphics for the show and getting the winner graphics, all of that. And then we also have things like, the first team all private school, second team all private school that, we really also like too. And then also, hey, we want to do about the awards. And we were all talking about it. Those awards, they're going to look really good. And we went and got our company ready to go. They're waiting for the names, and then they're going to start getting them processed and ready to go. But we're adding a little more. It's going to look really cool. Maybe can change it up the colors a little bit. Stay tuned for that. But it's really, really cool. We also maybe got some content on the way for to buy this time to kind of wait and give it. So while we're doing the award show behind the scenes, we can get some episodes out, let y'all enjoy them, including since signing day is coming up, maybe getting a perspective from some guys who actually play college ball. And, some of our friends just through the, time have done the thing going D1 or going the JUCO route. And, you're like, what do I want to do? All right, then let's show you a guy who's been in your footsteps, been in private school ball and done that route. And I think that's kind of what we really kind of want to do, because we want to showcase your talent, but by the time your talent's there and been noticed, all right, so what do I want to do now? And I think that's going to be pretty cool for us to do. So look for that in the next couple of weeks before the award show comes out.
Yeah, what I think is really cool about that is we've actually, unless something falls through, if everything goes to plan, we have guys from every level that can talk about their experience. We have a JUCO guy, we have a D3 guy, a D2 guy, and a D1 guy that we potentially can interview and talk to. So I don't think that's not just filler content. That's content that if any of you are signed on to play at the next level or are interested in it, I highly recommend you watch those episodes and you get a firsthand perspective from one of these guys that you will be in their shoes eventually if you continue down that route. I mean, I think it'll be super, super helpful. Also, I'm very excited. I think I'm going to have a chance to show off some of my high school film as me and Walker may or may not react to our old football huddle film. I may or may not leave in the part where I get jumped over by Maurice Washington from Trinity Christian Cedar Hill, but we'll see if that makes the final cut.
Yeah. And with that, we kind of want to go to and talk about some of the guys in our day that we played against that were really, really good. And Maurice Washington will definitely be one of them. But yeah, if you have any names that you played or some of the coaches, dads that you remember seeing when your son was just in middle school and you see watching, come send us film, send us on Twitter, direct message us, email us, give us some names that we can go watch. Cause while it's in the summer, we don't have anything to do. So let's watch some film, go watch on the good old days of private school ball.
Maurice Washington is the best player in TAPS in the last decade. Fight me over that.
Ooh.
Anyways, I'd be interested to see who else comes up. The man jumped over me. What else can I say? I'm trying to help my own case. But I mean, with that's basically our roadmap for the future. Guys, is there anything else either of you want to say before we get out of here? Walker, Ryan? Negatory?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. We're getting close to the end. And yeah, kind of to re-say what I said earlier in the episode, this is our finalists, and it was very hard to decide this. If you didn't make it, or a homie of yours didn't make it, it's okay. we're a podcast. Sometimes we're gonna get it wrong, and if in your eyes you think we're wrong, and that's okay. I mean, it is what it is, type of thing. And we try our hardest to make sure we think we got the best guys available, and we ask a lot. Us three, we go sit down and really discuss this. So, at the end of the day, it's kind of our decision, and we believe in it. So, I mean, it is what it is.
New plan. If you disagree with one of the rankings and you think you should be on there, you can meet me outside in the street and we can have a bare-fisted brawl. And if you knock me out, you go on the list.
No. What? Okay. For legal reasons, a civil discussion,
for heavy liability reasons, and because of the fact that probably about 75% of you could probably knock me out. We're not going to do that.
So we're gonna have a civil discussion.
However, with that very, very fake condition being said, that's actually going to wrap this episode up. So, as always, I am Wes Tolleson. I've been 1/3 of your hosting crew. Walker Lott and Ryan Schroeder have fantastically been themselves. We will see you in the next episode. See you later.